say actually, just before we start, I looked at all these gorgeous shirts. This one's from 1911. Are you a vampire? How that one looks incredibly old.
My great-grandfather's certificate to become a professional gilder in his home.
Wow. And that, I was wondering where home is, because I know your slogan is Scandinavian luxury and artisan, but I don't know if that's you or the shop.
That's me.
So you're Scandinavian.
So I'm Danish.
There we go. Because I know we'll jump to that. I know you spent 4 years in Denmark after you moved here, but really to go right back, you're 14. You've got a real love for gems and jewellery and all that. Is that from a family? Is family tradition? Is it kind of connected, or is it just your own particular passion? Or
not at all. I just think I was always quite creative. I always loved drawing. Mainly was my thing, but I just loved playing about. And then I got the chance to do this work experience in a beading shop. So it was all about wires and putting beads together and colours, and that was I just really enjoyed it, and I continued working for her once in a while on Saturdays and stuff, a bit of extra pocket money. Never really thought much of it. Then I finished school, then went travelling, went off to Australia, thinking that I was going to do architecture. I wanted to do something.
Or be a singer maybe. I know you've got a beautiful voice. I hear from everybody here says you've got a gorgeous voice, so that could have also been a career as well. Yeah.
It's never too late.
We'll finish with a song. We'll let you take it away at the end. But sorry, the Australian experience that you didn't really plan as such, because I know you ended up as an apprentice to a jeweller and a gemologist in Australia. And was that did it just happen organically? You just sort of fell into it, or was there some switch that clicked and said, "Oh, do you know what? I really want to do this"?
I thought I was going to go to university, and then I did all these strange jobs travelling around with my cousin for a year. We did branded cattle, and we picked grapes, and we fixed tractors and drove.
You're not Huckleberry Finn, are you? Are you Forrest Gump? What the heck? Branded cattle.
We were there to just have fun and try something that we would never do at home.
Were you supposed to brand those cattle, or was that just a drunken thing?
Just a bit of fun.
Right, okay, you just got a bit too drunken.
We just got jobs around wherever we could get jobs. We said yes to anything and everything. And then while I was doing that, I thought, hang on a minute, I actually had a lot of fun fixing tractors. Loved using my hands and fiddling around with bits. Then I went to art college, and again, loved it, but I wanted a more secure way of living.
Right.
And then I got the chance to do an apprenticeship with a jeweller and gemologist, so that kind of combined the artistic side of things and also the...
No, it's good to know you can fix a tractor, because I know Davis gets stuck sometimes by the tractors. They can be tricky. So I'm kind of guessing that you moved to Ireland. Well, I don't know whether it's that simple that you'd kind of made up your mind by the time you got to Ireland, whether you were still in that process, because 20 years ago, we should say, you got married to a beautiful Irishman, Mr. O'Connor. You've got 4 lovely kids. Was it always, even then, was it sort of part of your plan, or I don't know if there was...
To find an Irishman?
No, about but to do the jewellery, I don't know whether, because people have these, hopes and dreams about what they'd like to become, and it's tough enough in certain lines of work like this to establish your name and to get yourself out there. And I don't know if that was the case for you, or whether it was always a given that this is where I'm going to end up.
Well, once I started it was, because once I actually got a chance to try it, even when I was in art college, I was still fiddling around with beads and wire and combining that with my artwork.
Yeah.
And then when I got the chance to work with the real metals, and also my mentor at the time was so passionate about gemstones.
Right.
And that was totally what.
We should give them a shout out. I don't know who your mentor was at that time.
Sam McKinley.
Okay.
In Australia, in a tiny little town in Australia, but he was and that kicked that off for me, because you would ask him anything about any gemstone, and he would know where it came from and what it was, and you got totally sucked in. So that started that process, and then I actually just came over to visit my sister who was working in Ireland, met Al then, and just decided that was what I wanted to do, be with him here. So moved to Ireland, and then I continued an apprenticeship with
the craft council, and you did the craft, I think, whatever is the craft council down in Kilkenny, and also is it like a distant kind of course in the UK as well for?
Yeah, that was gemology, because that was the only place I could learn gemology. Well, that or America, and you could do a correspondence course. So I did gemology with them. I did diamond grading, and then subsequently I've also done pearl grading and So there's always something.
But would it be fair to say at that point, even, you know, those early days, this is what you dreamt, that you'd have like your own workshop, your own place? Or, you know, I don't know if that you dared to think that early on, that that's going to happen.
I always had that dream that I would have, you know, when you go to mainland Europe and you go to Italy or Spain, you walk down the streets and you have all these little individual craft shops where people are sitting there working, and they still have, you can buy directly from them. I've always loved that. So that was my dream. If I ever got a shop, it would be that kind of shop, which I then eventually got here. I think, you know, when you have to do your business plans and all that, I had this idea of, yes, it'd be really cool to be this amazing designer who would have a shop in Copenhagen, in Sydney, because I still really loved Australia, and in Dublin. But, you know, now when I look at it, it's actually, it wouldn't actually work for me at all, because that's not what I'm about. What I love is creating something for people. They come in and it becomes something important to them, and that's actually part of the fun. So I have to be present. I couldn't have a shop in Sydney and do what I do here, because it's all it's more to do with what it means to people, and I love designing as well, but so many pieces come from inspiration from other things as well, you know, people that come in and have, you know, a piece from somewhere, from someone, and you create something, and then that just kicks off something else for me as well, you know.
Well, I know that a big part of your sort of, we'll say, inspiration and the theme of a lot of what you do is based in nature, and of course that lends itself to the idea of you know, not recycling but reimagining, just taking what already exists and being able to, you know, use it again in something even more beautiful, and have that sort of connection, its roots to someone's past, someone's history, which I'm sure for the families or the person involved is hugely rewarding, because it would be, you know, kind of easy to get a new piece and say, I'll just go with a brand new whatever, but to have it that it's actually, this is a part of my own history, part of my family history.
I think there's so much more to it now for people, that we do a lot of that. People come in with their old gold, and instead of just selling it and you get nothing for it anyway, but we melt it down and just reimagine what was there, recreate from the materials we have, and often there's some pretty amazing gemstones hidden. Sometimes they're not, and we can take them out, but you could still make a completely new piece just from all the old bits that was, you know, this was my granny's broken chain, and this was my, you know, granddad's wedding ring, and, you know, you've got all these bits, and it just means more to people to have that, instead of just it's lying in the drawer not being used, or, you know. Now
we should say, just in chronologically, I think it was 2003, across the road in Bocelli's, we can see it through the sunlight over there. You had a workshop, was it 2003, I think, upstairs you started?
No, 2003 actually, we went back to Denmark for a few years, and I started up on my own. Then I had 2 young children, and it was just easier to work from home. I did exhibitions around the place and a few fairs and things. Then we moved back to Ireland in 2007, and I moved.
That's it. So it was March 2009, I think you were here. Was that? I'm getting my years mixed up. And was that, I don't know, I can't remember if that was Tino's or whether it had gone to another, what was here before you moved in?
It was Tino's for, I think,
for many
32
years.
or 33 years. And then there was a very short period where it was
lingerie
fishmongers.
Oh, yes.
So it was funny, because when I had a look at the shop, they hadn't cleaned it out after they left the fishmongers. It was horrendous.
Fish don't smell.
It was really, really.
You actually are just based where the fish factory used to be, just around the back here. Where the Meridian Point is, that was a fish factory for many years. So this whole area had that smell for quite a long time. Yeah, exactly. So maybe they were drawn to it. So I'm trying to think now, in March 2009, obviously it's a huge kind of dream come true. Starting a business of any sort, even if you are kind of well established in your own mind, you know what you're doing and you're able to do it. I mean, was it thrilling or was it scary? I don't know if you can remember how you felt when you started out.
It was a huge change, because when I had the workshop across the road up on the first floor, it was a private appointment kind of arrangement, whereas as soon as I opened this, I had to be open normal hours, which meant I had to employ someone full time. So all of a sudden the business had to get bigger for me to support a full-time wage for another person. Whereas before I could open and close how I wanted, the rent was very low, you know, kind of, so there was more commitment, but it was also ended up being 2 completely different places. It may as well have been 2 completely different businesses, because you get the passing trade, so there was a lot more flow.
But
it worked for me. It was perfect timing, really. I was ready for that. The 2 little children were getting a bit bigger, so it was a bit easier. Now then, we continue to have another 2 after that. But at that stage, I had lots of help in here.
Well, I'm thinking too that for a lot of people in any town, but certainly Greystones was probably luckier than many. But the recession would have been a kick to the nuts a little bit, just in trying to survive such things. But you seem to do perfectly fine. I know that you kind of changed the range, maybe that in some you got a little a few things that were more economical to buy and all that. But I don't know whether you felt pretty okay during that time, or whether it was scary.
I mean, it was tough. It was tough, but we just had to adjust, and exactly that. I had to work with do a lot more in silver,
right.
And do a bit more production pieces that was easy to make quickly, so you still had gifts. I mean, people, even with the recession, people were still looking for gifts, people were still getting married, they're still getting engaged.
Yeah.
But that really also kick-started the reuse of existing materials from the customers, because people became so much more aware of what they actually had and what they needed, and I was really lucky, because I never, even when I first started up in Greystones, I really never rode that wave where people were just paying crazy money for nothing.
Okay.
So I never really got used to just having loads of cash all the time. So it wasn't a big shock as such to the system, because I came from having started, which always takes a few years anyway to establish, and then moving down here. So we had to adjust, and it was tough, but I mean, like I say, and repairs became big, which we kind of really do a lot of as well, and we often do things that other people mightn't touch, but because it's a lot of times it's because it's important to people, and we've got the skills we have, so it's nice to be able to help fix something that's is worth something sentimentally to them.
Well, I'm thinking not only is your work this way, but the business itself is sort of small and perfectly formed. You don't need to sort of worry about a huge expansive sort of operation. You've got a very concentrated, and you care deeply about the work you're doing, so that'll always survive. I think there'll always be that strength, that recognition. Now, we should say, I was looking up the word AMOC, thinking it's probably a Scandinavian word for some beautiful gem or some wonderful kind of deep mythical meaning, but it's actually your name, basically. Yes, because I was searching, and then I realised, oh no, wait. So Mette O'Connor.
But it's also Aston Martin Owners Club, so I'm still waiting for the.
Well, that would be good connection. That if you could swap, maybe they have a loan of a ring. You can have a loan of an Aston Martin for the weekend. That would work.
It would be really good.
So we should say too that you've got some wonderful people working with you. I know Martina, and just arrived from Italy, young.
We have Paolo from Italy.
Boom! We got photographs of the gang together over there. But does it still feel? I don't know if you can. Get to a point where you relax and know that everything works, and you know what you're doing, and it's it's what you dreamed of, or is there always, like for anybody in business, a kind of always a niggling worry that you got to keep an eye on how things are run and how we're making?
I think you always have to keep. I don't know if it's a worry, but I think you always have to keep an eye on it and keep on top of it, because at the end of the day, nobody, when you're so passionate about it as I am, nobody else really knows all the decisions I want to make. And so there's a lot of things that all the guys are great at, but it's still my say at the end of the day. It's still, for example, doing the window. I love doing the window, and I can't really. If somebody else does it, it's not really my style that comes through.
Okay.
Not that it's right or wrong.
Sure.
But it's just it's at the end of the day, it's a very, very personal business.
Right.
So
it is art. It is art in many, a lot of aspects of your work, whether the shop or the work, obviously you actually make, it's art, and that is a voice. Usually, that is a sort of a sense of the individual who made it. And I know that Paolo and Martina, everyone's got that skill. But we should maybe wrap up by saying, when we talk about the art itself, that they are unique. Each one is it's almost as unique as the fingerprint, because they're handmade. There may be similarities, but there's obviously going to be this degree of this is the only one that was made at that time by this person, which is a huge, I think for a lot of people, that's a huge kick, that it's not a factory kind of rings and all the same. I'm guessing that's important to you, that there is that input.
It is, and it is what I take pride in as well. Anytime I've ever gone into production with something where we're making loads of the same piece, the passion just dies. And it's harder to sell then, because I don't love it anymore.
Right.
And I have so much more fun.
It's like the third and fourth kid. Like even the first two you'd get very excited about. But then once you see that this is a routine. Well, the 5th, we'll say the 5th maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Let's say that the 5th. But I also like it, again, you know, with both Martina and Paolo, I've also got Rochelle and Katrina. Katrina's been with me for nearly 8 years. She's just come back from maternity.
Brilliant.
But like they all give a little bit, you know, even if I'm in the middle of making something, and then I'll often be like, oh, what do you think maybe? And I'll ask one of them, and they're like, well, why don't you move that across there? And I say, oh yeah, actually that's a really good idea. So it works, you know, we kind of all work together as well with that.
Yeah.
But there's and it's the same with the website, you know, we try and have most things on it, but we just can't, because there are so many one-off pieces, and I don't want to do it again. Sometimes you can do a similar thing with a different coloured stone or whatever, but most of the time it's done, and then that's it. Just move on to something else, because I suppose because I can. You know?
There was one last thing I meant to ask you, and it just popped back in my head, thankfully. It has been a place of magic, not beyond just the actual work, but then people proposed in here, and we should mention one particular proposal has a nice sort of space-time continuum ring to it, because one of the Tino's children proposed and had their ring.
Came back in, exactly. Wow. He just thought it was really nice with the history behind it, and wanted the ring made in here because his grandfather had started up Tino's, so he just thought that whole connection was lovely, and it was fun for us as well, and that was really, you know, he's also local still, so yeah, I just think, you know, and we have lots of them. We have so many stories.
Yeah. And is it true he had the ring based on a donut design? He just wanted to make it look like a donut?
That's not true, no.
Okay, yeah.